This video alleges South Africa used eggs to exterminate black people. What do you think? Get in the comment section, let me know.
How has diseases been used to destabilize African countries?
So, actually, not too long ago, I gave a talk where I mentioned some of the examples of this. So, one recent, well, let's say relatively recent, depending on how people look at it, over the last couple of decades, there's this documentary that came out called Cold Case Hammersdorf, and it was dealing initially with the death of the UN Secretary General at that time, Dag Hammarskjöld. But the story that came out in the documentary was that there was a group called SIMAR, which was the South African Institute of Maritime Research. And on film, you actually have this white guy, Dutch boy or whatever, who talks about how they set up medical clinics in the black community, places like Soweto, so forth and so on, these what they call Bantustans. And what they did is that under the guise of free medical care, they were injecting people with AIDS intentionally. And he says that at that time, when you're talking about, late 80s, early 90s, the idea was that AIDS was a killer, right? So the idea was that rather than having a military solution to getting rid of all black people, if they could have a medical solution to kill all black people off, because the men are going to infect the women are going to infect the men, they're all just going to die off, and there's going to be an entirely white country. But their vision was an all-white country, like every single black person has been exterminated due to, medical, so forth. So, there's a long history of, non-black people, what I would say Eurasians in general, whether that's the British, the French, the Germans, or so forth and so on, trying to solve their problem of how do they steal our land without any resistance. And one of the means by which they have done that is through chemical, biological, neurological, psychological, warfare on every front that you can imagine. And because they have the power to do so, they often do so without any check whatsoever.
And if you can't comprehend that, cut this shit. That part.